Namaskar, Hare Krishna, Basu Ghosh Das here. Following up on my video from the day before yesterday on female Diksha gurus, I wanted to talk about Varnasrama considerations in connection with the topic of female Diksha gurus. What I understand from the teachings of our spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Srila Abhay Charan Aravinda, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, is that his purports in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita were the main body of his teachings for posterity, for his disciples and for humanity. And that Prabhupada represented Vaishnav tradition and not some changed or concocted ideology that had no precedence in the past. So, let's get going on Varnasrama. Particularly, there's an important verse to my mind in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 10, text number 50. I'm reading the translation here. Being pleased by the full surrender and submission of Lord Bharata, Lord Ramachandra then accepted the throne of the state. He cared for the citizens exactly like a father, and the citizens, being fully engaged in their occupational duties of Varna and Ashrama, accepted him as their father. Before I read the purport, I heard a lecture the other day of one of my senior godbrothers. I think I mentioned it briefly in my podcast from the day before yesterday, where he said Krishna did not instruct Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita to be a kshatriya, and I was flabbergasted that somebody could say that who's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. So let's hear this purport on this same topic of, kshatriya means Varnashram, sannyasi means Varnashram. You can't be a Swami, XYZ Swami, ABC Swami, unless you're following the Varnashram system. Purport. People are very fond of the pattern of Ram Rajya, and even today politicians sometimes form a party called Ram Rajya, but unfortunately they have no obedience to Lord Rama. It is sometimes said that people want the kingdom of God without God. Such an aspiration, however, is never to be fulfilled. Good government can exist when the relationship between the citizens and the government is like that exemplified by Lord Ramachandra and his citizens. Lord Ramachandra ruled his kingdom exactly as a father takes care of his children, and the citizens, being obliged to the good government of Lord Ramachandra, accepted the Lord as their father. Thus, the relationship between the citizens and the government should be exactly like that between father and son. When the sons in a family are well trained, they are obedient to the father and mother. And when the father is well qualified, he takes good care of the children. As indicated here by the words Swadharma Nirata Varnashrama Gunanvitaha. The people were good citizens because they accepted the institution of Varna and Ashrama, which arranges society in the Varna divisions of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and the Ashrama divisions that of Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. This is actual human civilization. People must be trained according to the different Varnashram occupational duties, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.13, Chatur Varnam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. The 4 Varnas must be established according to varying qualities and work. The first principle for a good government is that it must institute this Varnashram system. The purpose of Varnashram is to enable people to become God-conscious. Varnashram acharavata purushena paraf puman Vishnur aradyate. The entire Varnashram scheme is intended to enable people to become Vaishnavas. Vishnur asya devata. When people worship Lord Vishnu as the Supreme Lord, they become Vaishnavas. Thus, people should be trained to become Vaishnavas through the system of Varna and Ashrama, as they were during the reign of Lord Ramachandra. when everyone was fully trained to follow the Varnasrama principles. So in Varnasrama, women are not counted as part of the four Varnas. There's another quote in this regard from Prabhupada. In a lecture in 1969, on July 16th in Los Angeles, Prabhupada said, "Therefore, according to Vedic system, a boy born in a Brahmana family, he is allowed all the sanskaras, reformatory process, but the girl is not. Why? Now, because a girl has to follow her husband. So if her husband is Brahmana, automatically she becomes Brahmana. There is no need of separate reformation. And by chance she may be married with a person who is not a Brahmana, then what is the use of making her a Brahmana? That is the general method. So therefore, even born in a Brahmana family, a woman is taken as woman, not as Brahmana." So if we actually accept these teachings of Prabhupada, which is the ancient tradition here in Bharata, in India, then there's no question of a woman becoming a Diksha guru when she cannot have the Yagnopavit sanskar. I talked about that the day before yesterday. And it's the ancient tradition. It's followed in all the Vaishnava sampradayas. Those who don't follow it are called sahajiyas. They take very cheaply the rules and regulations, but they don't follow, as Prabhupada said, you must follow Varna and Ashrama. So Prabhupada gave Brahminical initiation to men. Now there's an argument, well, he gave it to women, but he didn't give the sacred thread. That is the actual sanskara. So you can only take it as a time and place adjustment in order to continue deity worship in the West, when in 55 years ago, when there were no Brahmanas abroad, there was no Vedic culture, nobody knew what it was. But as Prabhupada brought us Westerners closer and closer to Vedic culture, he brought us to India so we could learn the culture. In Hyderabad in 1975, I was present when Prabhupada lectured to 10,000 people and said, folding his hands, "Please don't give up your culture." Now we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Bengali Vaishnavas, and the people of Hyderabad, they're not Bengali Vaishnavas, they're Hindus. But please don't give up your culture. That is the Vedic culture, Varnashram culture that Prabhupada talks about in his purport of Srimad Bhagavatam 9:1050. We were on the train station with Prabhupada in Nellore, and he had a fantastic reception with the mayor, the girls with the coconuts, this is the 10-year-old girls, Nadaswarams, and the Brahmins chanting Veda mantras. And Prabhupada turned to a small group of his disciples, I was one of them, and he said, Vedic culture is more intact in South India. So Prabhupada's mission was to spread Vedic culture and revive it in India, and to spread it all over the world. And what did he want to spread? It was Varnashram Dharma. But a section of ISKCON leaders, some of them are my godbrothers, some are not, but they're saying that Varnashram means the caste system. And when they say that, they're referring to the concept that was communicated by the British occupational leadership of the then British Raj. When the British occupied India for 200 years, they wanted to denigrate the culture, they wanted to discredit the culture, they wanted to convert India to Christianity. By and large, there are exceptions. And so they said the caste system. And Prabhupada here says that just claiming by birthright is not enough. However, there is a tradition. And that's mentioned in Gita, where Krishna says you get a good birth. In 640, 641, Suchinam Srimatam Gehe, yoga brashta abhijayate. One who could not complete his yoga, linking with God in this life, gets a good birth, suchinam, in a home of pure persons, brahmanas, who study Vedas. And there are still thousands of brahmanas in India. The numbers are dwindling because there are no kshatriyas to protect the brahmanas, who study Vedas. Patana patana, the occupation of a Brahmin is to study and to teach the Vedas. So it was an oral tradition. Veda mantras were learned by Brahmanas, and that could only be learned by hearing it from the Guru after taking the sacred thread, the Yagnopavit. So Prabhupada mentioned that last day before yesterday. I pointed out that verse from Adi, the purport of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 1, text 46. So people say, well, they're Vaishnavis, so that somehow exempts them from being women. But Prabhupada didn't do that. One of the topmost Vaishnavis, Madhavi Devi, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 10, verse 137, Prabhupada in the purport says that Madhavi Devi was a half being a woman. And she's one of the topmost Vaishnavis. So why she wasn't called by Prabhupada a Vaishnavi? Why is she called a woman? Kunti Devi, in her prayer, Katam Pashyema Histriyaha. She was one of the most exalted female devotees of Lord Krishna. But because she was a follower of Vedic culture, Varnasrama dharma started at the time of Lord Ramachandra, what to speak of at the time of Lord Krishna. And she said, how we women can see you. The mood was women are considered, a woman's body is considered a lower birth. And I read from Prabhupada's lecture in Los Angeles, they say women cannot be in the mode of goodness. And he said it twice for emphasis. In Samskrita Bhasha, the language of the Vedic literature, when something is stressed, you say it more than once. Jai means victory. Jai, Jai, Jai. Victory, if you want to say 3 times, it becomes Jayo, Jayo, Jayaha. The O is Sandhi, coalescence. So in Sanskritam, Jayo, Jayo, Jayaha. Victory, victory, victory. Women cannot be. Prabhupada stressed twice. They cannot rise to the mode of goodness. Therefore, a woman cannot take initiation. So how can she give initiation? So Varnasrama means Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas are called the Dvijas. Dvi, 2, ja, janma, second birth. By the sanskara, the reformatory process of having the sacred thread. And the sacred thread is meant for studying the Vedic mantras and then performing Vedic sacrifices, fire sacrifices. Lord Krishna and Sudama were disciples of Sandipani. As I mentioned in my video the day before yesterday, in the 10th canto, chapter 45, Krishna's sojourn, Krishna's stay at Avanti, at the home of Sandipani, is described. And Sudama and Krishna were sent by Sandipani to get wood. Now the wood was used for 2 purposes, cooking and performing fire sacrifices. And Ramayana and Puranas, they describe sages residing in the forest and performing Vedic fire sacrifices. The story of Lord Ramachandra in the Valmiki Ramayana, Vishwamitra comes to Ayodhya and asks Rama's father Dasarath that I need Rama and Lakshman to come with me because a demon is attacking my ashram where I'm performing the fire sacrifice and won't allow us to perform that sacrifice. And so Dasharatha didn't want to part with Rama and Lakshman. No, don't take them away. Finally, he was convinced by his own priest, Vashishta, let them go. So Lord Ramachandra's pastimes were that he was trained as a kshatriya by Vishwamitra and given all kinds of weapons. So to say that kshatriya dharma is not the aim of Vedic literature is it's giving a wrong guidance. It's giving a wrong guidance. Kshatriya dharma is intrinsic to the Varnasram system. Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. How can anybody who reads Srila Prabhupada's purport, like this particular purport, can't say that Krishna did not instruct Arjuna to be a Kshatriya and follow Kshatriya dharma, but to be a devotee. But in Gita, Krishna told Arjuna, Yudhyasva, you fight, mad anusmaran, thinking of me. So obviously Krishna wanted Arjuna to be a devotee. Manmana bhava mad bhakto, think of me, become my devotee. But he also instructed him to fight. And he fought. That's the Mahabharata story. After the Gita was spoken, now I know what is my duty. Moha nashta smritir labdha. My illusion is gone. Now I remember my duty as a Kshatriya to fight. And Krishna drove the chariot, Parthasarathi, and Arjuna killed his grandfather Bhishma. He wanted to be killed by Arjuna. Those were Arjuna's arrows, not Shikandi's arrows. This is common knowledge of anyone who studies the Mahabharata or the Valmiki Ramayana, that Kshatriya dharma is, Gita, as Prabhupada quotes here, Chatur Varnam Maya Shrishtam, I created the Varnashram. How can this be denied? How can this be denied? Very, very strange. It is the contamination of Maya, or the contamination of modern egalitarian ideology, where they say everyone in society is equal. Well, Prabhupada said that on the platform of the soul, the Atma, we're equal. Mamai vangsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. The jivas are equal, but the jivas are in different bodies. And in the material world, the body of a Brahmana is more conducive to yoga and spiritual life than the body of a Shudra. And the same is for a body of a male compared to the body of a female. The psychology of a male is different from the psychology of a female. And Prabhupada says in that lecture that he gave at Los Angeles, September 22nd, 1972, that if the woman serves the husband, she gets the spiritual benefit of the husband. That's the Vedic concept. And Prabhupada wanted to spread that concept. The only thing that's missing is Samskrita Bhasha. Otherwise, Prabhupada changed the dress, he changed the name, he changed the food habits, he changed their religion. Only Samskritam Shikshaniyam, Samskrita has to be learned. And Samskrita means culture. Su-Samskrita, very cultured. So all these concepts for thousands of years were conveyed in Samskritam, but we're lazy. We don't want to learn Samskritam. So here, have it in English, have it in French, have it in Punjabi, have it in Farsi, Arabic, all the languages of the world. But what is that you're having? Become a Vaishnava through the system of Varna and Ashrama. These are the words of Prabhupada in his purport. So to say that Prabhupada said something else, then how can you ignore this? You have to take this into consideration. He wrote Prabhupada made many time and circumstance statements. I asked Prabhupada, is it better to follow the one religion of the West, or to worship the demigods? I asked him in Vrindavan in 1975 on a morning walk, and he said it's better to worship the demigods because by following the Vedic system you get gradual elevation. And then he said these Western religions are the religions of the meat eaters. He told me that. So he didn't ascribe a lot of importance to the Western religions. But you'll hear Prabhupada's own disciples saying, and Prabhupada also had said, the leaders of the Western religions are our gurus. But Prabhupada never lectured from the Bible, did he? Or the Quran, or the Torah. Prabhupada lectured from the Bhagavatam, from the Gita. He told stories from the Mahabharata. He quoted Chanakya. He wanted to spread Vedic culture. Some people call Vedic culture Indian culture. Some people call it Hindu culture. But the culture is based on Vedas. 4 Vedas, the 6 limbs of the Vedas, and then Vedic supplementary literature, the Nigamas, and then the Agamas. Agama Shastras, there are 140 Pancharatra Agamas. Prabhupada accepted them. Rupa Goswami accepted them. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there's that famous verse, Shruti, Vedas, Smriti, the Dharma Shastras, Puranadi, the Puranas, the Mahabharata, and Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, and other such historical Vedic literatures. Pancharatra, Shruti, Smriti, Puranadi, Pancharatra, Vidim Vina. Without these Shastras, Bhakti is a disturbance in society. Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpata Yaiva Kalpate. Kalpate causes, or comes to be, and Utpat, disturbance. So Bhakti has to adhere to the instructions of Prabhupada in his purports, not only for the followers of ISKCON, but for the human society at large. And changing that to satisfy egalitarian principles that are popular in Western countries is a mistake. It's not what Prabhupada intended. He did not intend to have so-called egalitarianism. Well, there's egalitarianism is a myth. It's not possible for everyone to be equal. Communism was supposed to spread egalitarianism. Excuse me, and communism is atheism. And communism collapsed. Even China is only communist in name only. They're encouraging business. A couple other quotations I wanted to. Prabhupada spoke about Varnasrama in the Varnasrama College in 1974 in Vrindavan. I think it was March or early April 1974. So Satsvarupa was his secretary at the time. And he said, Srila Prabhupada, is this school, meaning the Varnasrama College, for women or just for men? And Prabhupada replied, for men. Women should automatically learn how to cook, how to cleanse home. He was referring to Vaishnavis. He was referring to the devotees in the movement. He was not referring to people outside of the movement. They're welcome, but he wasn't referring to them. Satsvarupa said, so they don't attend Varnasrama College, the devotee women? No. Again, for stress, this is Indian tradition, Vedic tradition. To stress, you say something twice. Prabhupada, no. Varnasrama College is especially meant for the Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya. Not for the Vaishnava, no, for the Brahmana, Kshatriya, and the Vaishya. He didn't say it's for Vaishnavas and not for the followers of the caste system. He said it's for Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya. Those not fit for education, they are Shudras. That's all. And he was referring to the labor class and the women. Or those who are reluctant to take education, Shudra must, that's all. They should assist the higher class. So it's very clear from these words of Prabhupada that he didn't intend women, devotee women, followers of his movement, to go to school, go to the Vaishnav Varnasrama college, and to become gurus, to become Diksha gurus. So then in 1974 in Italy on May 27th, this is well known to us, where Yogeshwar asked Srila Prabhupada, so here's a problem. The women today want the same rights as men. How can they be satisfied? And Prabhupada replies, everything will be satisfied, just like our women. He didn't use the word Vaishnavi. He said, just like our women, Krishna conscious, they are working. They don't want equal rights with the men. It is due to Krishna consciousness. It's not due to egalitarianism. It's due to Krishna consciousness. They are cleansing the temple. They are cooking very nicely. They are satisfied. They never said that I have to go to Japan for preaching like Prabhupada. They never say, this is artificial. So Krishna consciousness means work in his constitutional position. The women, men, when they remain in their constitution, there will be no artificial, and then it got cut off. This idea that Prabhupada spoke about has been violated by the ISKCON leadership by passing resolutions calling for equality for women. Passing such resolutions denies the Varnasrama idea that Prabhupada was teaching and that Krishna himself taught in the Gita. It's contamination, it's pollution, it's wrong, and it should be corrected. Okay, a mistake was made. Let's correct that mistake. We don't hate anybody. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That's a Vedic concept that the whole world is one family. And there's also the concept Krinvanto Vishwamaryan in the Rig Veda. Make everyone a follower of Vedic civilization. That's what a preaching mission is supposed to do. That's what Prabhupada was preaching. He wasn't preaching some new concocted thing. In the 1970s, when ISKCON came under attack in the West, particularly the United States, and conservative, wealthy parents of devotees hired kidnappers who were called deprogrammers to take their children away from the movement, we had to publish a book. We are a bona fide Hindu sect. We didn't concoct, it's not a cult that somebody concocted out of his mind. We are following an ancient tradition. Now we don't want to follow that tradition. We don't want to wear the tilak. We don't want to put neck beads. We don't want to put a dhoti and a kurta or a chadar. What is that? That's an abrogation of what Prabhupada taught. I think I'll end it here because there is more. There is more, but I don't want to make it too long. People don't have a tendency to watch videos that just go on and on. So we'll take it up in another video in a couple of days. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the response. Thank you for your comments. We had numerous comments from all over the world for my last video, and I hope this video also sparks deep consideration, deep contemplation about the mission of Prabhupada and his teachings in his purports, which are what he intended for the whole world for the next 10,000 years. Hare Krishna. Punardarshanaya. See you again.